You know, paradigms control the results in your life. They have the power over everything, from your relationships to your income. And when you shift your paradigm, everything in your life improves. It's an exciting idea, isn't it? Well, I'm Bob Proctor, and I want to welcome you to Paradigm Shift, where we're going to teach you how to make dramatic improvements in the quality of your life. Think about your life for a moment. I want you to think about the results in your life and think about the concept of a paradigm shift. What is a paradigm? How are paradigms formed? How can they be changed? That's what I want to talk to you about. And I think as you get into this, you're really going to like it. Ask yourself this question. Why would anyone look at a tremendous opportunity offering them time and money freedom and then walk away from it? Do you know, you hear people day in, day out say, I wished I had this, I wished I had that, I wished I had this car, I wish we could take this vacation. Why did they walk away from it? Well, most people say, well, I really don't know. I don't think there's an answer to that. No, there is an answer to that. You see, people are walking away from opportunities every day, and the biggest opportunity they have, they carry within them. Napoleon Hill one time said, don't go searching for opportunity, but reach out and embrace them right where they are. You see, the people that walk away from the opportunities are being controlled by paradigms. They really are. They're being controlled by something, and they're not even sure what it is. And think of this. Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits, and they're other people's habits. These habits have been passed along from one generation to the next. It's rather sad because most of the things that the average individual does on any given day, they didn't even decide to do. They're programmed to do it. It's literally programmed right into the genes, and that's what's called a paradigm. What you're dealing with is habits. You see, paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. Paradigm is it's sort of a buzzword of this particular generation, and it really explains what subconscious conditioning is all about. Well, in this particular part of the paradigm shift, I want to talk to you about paradigms. And I'm going to talk to you about why people don't change them and how they could change them. You see, paradigms are the very reason why success for most people is a puzzle. And it really is a puzzle. They give it everything they've got, and they fall short. They get going, and they say, I'm going to do it this time, and they quit. I'm going to go on a diet, and they blow it. You know, why does this happen? Well, they don't really know. And success is a real puzzle. Go and ask a dozen people what the meaning of success is, and they really don't know. Ask them to how to become successful. They don't know that either. You see, we are the product of somebody else's habitual way of thinking. And I believe it's time to change. So let's take a look at how we can change. You know, Joel Barker wrote a book on paradigm, and he said to ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment. Yes, to put yourself at risk when exploring the future. Now think about that. To ignore the power of paradigms, most people do ignore the power of paradigms because they don't understand what a paradigm is. If you don't know what it is, you'll just automatically ignore it. So he said to ignore the power of paradigms to influence your judgment. Yes, to put yourself at risk when exploring the future. Well, most people do that. But he also pointed out to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, if we're going to change them, we're going to have to understand what they are. If we're going to change them, we're going to have to understand, I believe, how they're formed. We're going to have to understand what we have to do. And get this, it's well worth studying. Because when you change your paradigm, you can literally write your own check. You can decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do. You start to determine how much you're going to earn, how much fun you're going to have, the trips you're going to take, where you're going to go, and what you're going to do. Now, to start off with, there's only two things you really have to know to succeed. Sounds pretty simple. First one, you have to know where you are. You know, most people don't know where they are. I owe a man named Ray Stanford just a tremendous debt. Ray Stanford was a guy 45 years ago who got me to sit down and really look at how I was living. He said, Bob, do you like the way you're living? And I said, no, not particularly. He said, do you think I'm a happy guy? And I said, yeah, you seem pretty happy to me. He said, have you ever seen me sick? I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I was broke? And again, I had to admit I hadn't. Well, he told me, he says, you've got to be one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I was. I was an unhappy human being. Yet he said, you're always sick. Now, he said, you don't have a terminal illness, but you always got a headache or a cold or something. And he said, you're always broke. Oh, I was. I was always broke. I never had any money. He said, why don't you change it? Well, you know, it never really entered my mind that I could. It never crossed my mind that I had the ability to sit down and decide exactly what I wanted to do. Now, I said there's only two things you have to know to succeed. Well, let's take a look at the second one. The second one is you've got to know where you're going. You not only have to know where you are, you have to know where you're going. Now, you see, I was not in a good place. I was unhappy, I was sick, and I was broke. And because that's where I was, it was almost like I had to stay there. But you see, I was 26 years old. I had been trying to change results since I was a kid, and nothing seemed to happen. So I guess by the time I was 26, I just assumed this is my lot in life. But he said, that doesn't have to be the way it is. He said, your present results have nothing to do with your future unless you let them. Now, he said, your results are neither good nor bad. Everything just is. Take a look at the room you're standing in. The room's neither big nor small. The room just is. It's only big or small relative to something else. Look at a bigger room. The room you're in is small. Look at a smaller room. The room you're in is big. Well, he said, your results are neither good nor bad. Now, that has to do with the law of polarity. Law of polarity decrees there's two sides to everything. It's also the law of relativity. We have to relate things. So he said, you know, relative to most of the population of the world, you live like Solomon in all his splendor and glory. So that's not the deal. He said, you're not where you want to be. So he said, let's ignore where you're at now that you know where you are, and let's think of where you want to go. Where do you really want to go? Well, you know, it had been so long since I dreamed that I really didn't know. And you know what I found? I found most people don't know. But if we sit down and take a pen and a pad and ask ourselves, what do I really want to do? We can do it. Now, you see, there's a part of the paradigm that stops us from doing that because we immediately asked, how am I going to do it? How doesn't matter. Hillary didn't know how to get to the top of the mountain until after he got there. I had the good fortune of working with Edmund Hillary on 3 different occasions. The only thing I saw different about him and anybody else was his size and his determination and his vision. See, no one had ever been to the top of Mount Everest. No one had ever stood on top of the world until Hillary did. There's over 1,000 people who have done it since then. You know, see? What about the Wright brothers? No one had ever flown, but they did. You see, it doesn't matter how you're going to do it. What matters is what you're going to do. So think about this. Who are you? Now, that's what Ray started off by asking me. He says, who are you? I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm Bob. No, he said, that's not who you are. He said, that's your name. Where's the guy getting that? You know, I'm not my name. Now, he said, Bob and Proctor is your name, but it's not you. He said, they're two words. You use as your name. You could change them if you want. You probably won't. But that's not you. And I said, well, this is me. No, he said, that's your body. You've never heard anybody phone into work and say, body's not coming in today. It's sick. Think of it. You never say anybody say, I am hand, I am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my name, my body. These are all things we have. We've got to really stop and think, who am I? Now, you know, when you do that, you're going to come up with some pretty good answers. We are spiritual beings. That's who we are. We are a soul. We don't have one. We are one. We are spiritual beings. We have been gifted with an intellect. We have intellectual factors. We've got magnificent mental tools locked up inside of us, and we live in a physical body. Now, it's how we use our intellectual factors that's going to dictate our emotional state. And our emotional state is very likely going to control how we behave. Now, we're going to get into a lot of this later on, but, you know, that's the way it is for right now. Now, I have mentioned 1,000 times, if I've mentioned once, we think in pictures. You see? Now, if you think in pictures, I am spirit, I have an intellect, I live in a physical body, and you get a picture when you're thinking of yourself, what picture? You get the physical picture. It's the picture that reflects back from the mirror. It's the picture of the thing we dress, and so we think this is us. This isn't us at all. We've got to get an image of ourselves. We're spirit. Nobody's ever seen spirit. We see the expression of spirit. Spirit's creative. We're creative. Now, think about this for a moment. Dr. Truman Fleet in 1934 realized that we had a real problem. No one ever saw the higher side of a person's personality. So he said, I'm going to make a picture. And he said, there's a picture of the mind and the body. Now, I want to recommend you do what I've been doing now for close to 40 years. You see, I had been studying this for around 5 years, 8 years, something like that, before this picture was presented to me. Leland Val Vanderwall presented this to me, and when he did like that, everything came into order in my mind. I had been studying all this material about the mind, but I didn't have an image. See, most people, when they think of the mind, they think of the brain. The brain isn't the mind any more than a fingernail is. Brain is an electronic switching station. It's your brain that you activate to set up new vibrations in your body. And the vibration causes you to act the way you act. Your vibration dictates what you attract. You know that everything coming into your life you attract. So what we have to learn to do is, how do we work with the mind? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I see my head as my mind, and everything from the neck down as being the body. Is that the way it is? No, of course not. But that's an image that I'm working with. All right? Now, we take the mind and we break it into two parts. We have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, I think there's probably 150 names for each, the conscious mind as well as the subconscious. Some areas they call the subconscious the unconscious, and some call it universal intelligence. Call it whatever you want. We don't care what you call it. Let's understand how it works. Your conscious mind gives you the ability to choose. It's very powerful. Your subconscious mind does not have that ability. Now, your subconscious mind is your thinking mind. Or pardon me, your subconscious mind is your feeling mind. The conscious mind is a thinking mind. All right? The conscious mind is your thinking mind, and you have hooked up to your conscious mind your sensory factors. So let's look at this for a moment. What do most people think? Well, they think according to what's going on outside of them, because these sensory factors are picking up that information. And then they feed it in, and they think in pictures, and they turn it over to their subconscious, and that's what causes them to feel the way they feel. You see, what you think and impress upon your subconscious controls the vibration you're in. That controls how you act and produces the results that we're getting. Now, you can think anything you want, but when you were a child, you couldn't. Let me back it up. Your subconscious mind is wide open to, you can put in anything you want. When you were a baby, your subconscious mind was wide open. See, whatever went on around you come right into your subconscious mind. Now, right now, you can block everything out of your subconscious mind. You can do it with your conscious. You can mentally choose the ideas that you put in. You take a look at something, you don't like it, just reject it. See, the conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject ideas. The subconscious mind doesn't have that ability. You know, when you're a baby, your mind is wide open. You can put anything in it you want. At birth, a baby is a linguistic genius. It's literally a linguistic genius. You can teach a baby any language. I have some associates of mine in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. They have a little 4-year-old boy speaks 4 languages. Do you know that you can teach a baby to read before it can talk? Now, somebody will say, well, I don't believe that. Well, then you probably wouldn't do it. The reason we don't teach babies to read before they can talk is because we don't get any feedback. We don't understand how their mind works. We don't understand that we can program it, and yet we are programming it. Whatever we're talking about, whatever's going on around that baby is going right into the baby's subconscious mind. Where did you get the idea that you went to work to earn money? Do you know that working is the worst way to earn money? You go to work for satisfaction. That's why we should be doing what we absolutely love to do. You provide service to earn money. Why do you think 90-some% of the population have absolutely no idea how to earn money? Now think about this for a moment. This is very, very important that you understand this. All right? It's super important that you understand it. Because if you don't understand it, you're going to continue doing what you're doing. How are you at earning money? Are you having trouble with it? Well, if you're having trouble with it, it's because of the ideas that are programmed right into your subconscious mind. You see, if you're working around people that think it's difficult to earn money when you're a baby, then you're going to grow up thinking it's difficult to earn money. If your parents went to school, you'll probably go to school. If your parents didn't, you probably won't. If you blame the weather and what's going on outside for the disease that you may have, then you'll probably do the same thing. Why do you like the food you like? You like it because you're programmed to eat it. You see, you didn't choose to like that food. You choose to like the food that you're programmed to eat. Now, when that programming takes place, it's genetic and environmental. At around the age of 4 or 5, The mind's already programmed. It's the ideas going in over and over and over and over again. They become fixed in your subconscious mind. We call that a paradigm. And then you begin to think. Now, you can think anything you want, but your paradigm is controlling your behavior and controlling your results. Think of this for a moment. Let's suppose you're earning $50,000 a year. What do you think the odds are of you thinking the thoughts of a person that's earning $250,000 a year? You're not going to do it. As a matter of fact, you'll probably think they're different. They're no different than you or me. The only difference is in their thinking. You can think anything you want, but the paradigm seems to control the way we think. Now, we've got to make up our mind. We're going to stop that. The mind, you can think anything you want. It's your thinking mind. Think anything you want to think, and don't let the paradigm control you. It's a beautiful concept once you start to understand it. So, really think about this. All right? Now, your paradigm controls your logic. Now, think of this for a moment. We never flew in airplanes because anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. It was totally illogical to think that we could build something of metal and have it fly through the air carrying people. That was illogical, but we're doing it. See, it's logical now, but it wasn't when the Wright brothers got the plane off the ground. A person that's earning $50,000 a year, if they go and talk to one of their buddies about earning $250,000 a year, they'll say you're crazy. That is totally illogical. Well, let's think for a moment. If the paradigm's controlling the logic, if the paradigm is controlling the results, we want to change the results. Wouldn't it make good sense then to start thinking about things that are totally illogical? So when you're looking at where you are and looking at where you're going, I think we want to get some ideas in our mind that maybe are a little scary. You see, if your goal doesn't scare and excite you at the same time, it's probably not a good goal. What do you really want to do? Now, I was sitting in a fire hall when I picked up Think and Grow Rich many years ago. That was the best job I had ever had. I only worked 7 days and 7 nights a month, and I could sleep there all night, go golfing all day. I was earning above average income. They had never had anyone that they let go. Only one person since 1934 quit the job, and yet I quit. It was totally illogical for me to do that. Why did I do it? I did it because I wanted to change my life. I wanted to change the people I associated with. I wanted to change everything. Now, Maslow said you're either going to step forward into growth or you're going to step back into safety. That's a decision that you've got to make. If you step forward into growth, it's going to be scary. If you step back into safety, you're going to stay where you are. So let's think for a moment. Where are you and where you want to go? It's a good question. It's a question most people never ask themselves. I want you to stop and think of what it was like when you were a child. What kind of an environment were you born into? Because that's where your paradigms form. Stop and go back and take a look at your ancestors. You see, you might ask, how did you get here? Well, there's a little particle of energy from mom and a little particle of energy from dad come swimming along, and they joined together. That was the nucleus of you. Do you know that all mom's DNA and all dad's DNA is locked up in those little particles of energy? All their habit patterns are there. Why do you think you have some of the little idiosyncrasies that they have? Why do you think you look so much like your parents? Do you think that's an accident? See, the truth is most people never spend any time thinking about this. I want you to think about it. Because your way of life is controlled to an enormous degree by your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, their grandparents, and it's passed along from one generation to the next. I'll give you an indication of what I'm talking about. It's kind of cute, but it's true. I was born and raised in northern Ontario in Canada. My wife was born and raised in the southern part of the United States, in Birmingham, Alabama, and in Pensacola, Florida. Two totally different cultures. Now, we came together, and we started to go out together, but then we got married. And we're out shopping one day, and I said, you know what I'd like is some turnip. She said, okay. So I picked one up. She says, what are you going to do with that? And I said, I'm going to eat it. Well, she says, I'm not eating that. And I said, why not? She says, that's the root of the turnip. I said, it's what? She says, that's the root of the turnip. I'd never heard it called that. I'd never even thought of that. It was just a turnip. Yet she said, we feed that to the pigs. Well, I said, what do you eat? She said, we eat the green of the turnip. I don't think I'd ever seen a turnip green. I said, isn't that strange? We give that to the pigs. Here she was, raised where they eat the green of the turnip and threw the root away. I grew up, we eat the root of the turnip, threw the green away. And I put the turnip back in the bin, and I walked away. I mean, I'm not going to fight over a turnip. And I got thinking about it, and I thought, I wonder how many other ideas we operate like that. You see, that had to do with where she was raised. Now, do you want to know the truth? We don't eat turnip in our house anymore. We just don't eat it. I eat it if I go to my mother's or my sister's, but, you know, think about it. She was raised in a totally different culture than I was raised in. I do work over in Kuching and Kota Kinabalu and Kuala Lumpur. Totally different culture. When we have breaks for seminars here in North America, we have coffee breaks, refreshment breaks. Not in Malaysia. We have prayer breaks. Totally different culture. Now ask yourself, you know, why are you like you are? I want you to go back and think of yourself, just subconscious mind wide open. You're a little baby. What were the people talking about? What were they doing? What was their thoughts towards income? Because they're the thoughts that you've got planted in your subconscious mind. Again, you see, it's the repetition of these ideas going in over and over and over again that has programmed us. Now, in this series, The Paradigm Shift, you've got to really understand how paradigms were formed if you're going to be effective at changing them. See, I can tell you how to change the paradigm, but if you don't understand how it's formed, it wouldn't make any sense. Some of the things I'm going to tell you to do to change your paradigm are going to seem silly. They're going to seem immature. Well, that's all right. Do them anyway. Do you know you're going to find that the multimillionaires in the world, the people that are happy, the people that are alive and vibrant, they do things a little different than everybody else. They march to the tune of their own drummer. You know, you'll often find people, I was 71 on my last birthday, and you know, people say you should slow down. I think that's nuts. I should speed up. I'm really just getting warmed up. You see, I don't think we have to slow down. I think what we have to do is calm down. We have to pace ourselves. We have to do things in a very calm, confident manner. You can go at warp speed if you're doing that. I'll work in 3 or 4 different continents in the same week. Think nothing of it. I can get on a plane and go to sleep just the same as I can get in bed at home and go to sleep. Do you know why? I programmed myself to live that way. Do you know the way you're living is according to the program? Who decided on your program? Did you pick it, or did someone else pick it? Now think about it. I want you to be super honest when you're analyzing your results. Really take a look at where you are. And then ask yourself, why don't you change your results? Well, we really don't know. Why are you doing? What time do you start work? I always say everybody should belong to the 6 o'clock club. You want to get up at 6 o'clock, ready to fire your engines. Good time to wake up and study. Talk about studying. How much time do you spend studying? What do you study? You see, if you really want to change your life, you've got to get locked into study. You've got to figure out why you're doing what you're doing, how to change it. Now, remember I said we're spiritual beings and we live in physical bodies? That is no small thing. That's not something just to discuss at church or at the temple or at the mosque. This is something that we really want to focus on. Where is spirit? Spirit's omnipresent. Spirit's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Spirit's all-powerful. Do you know that all the power there ever was or there ever will be is omnipresent? It's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. This is very, very vital information, and we've got to think about it. It isn't just something we read and say, isn't that nice? You have infinite potential. What are you doing with it? There's 2 things we're not taught in school. There's many things we're not taught in school, but there's 2 things that we're not taught that are vitally important if you really want to make a paradigm shift and make things happen in your life. Number 1, you have to learn how to make decisions. Absolutely essential. Most people have a difficult time with it. And you've got to learn how to earn money. You've got to learn how to earn money. See, the more money you have, the more effective you can become. Now, understand this. Money's just used for 2 things. 1, it's to make you comfortable. And 2, it enables you to extend the service that you render far beyond your own physical presence. Now, I don't go into a lot of money or a lot about money in this particular lesson. I just want to touch on it. We will cover money specifically in one lesson. See, money is to make you comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more creative you can become. And the other purpose of it is to extend the service that you render far beyond your own presence. So you can actually be providing service when you're sleeping. If you're providing service when you're sleeping, you can be earning money while you're sleeping. Now, I was sitting in a hotel here in the city last night sleeping, but I can assure you I was earning money while I was sleeping. See, I'm of the opinion the mailman should never pass your door without leaving a check. Now, I know that's probably appealing to you. And how do you get that way? You get that way by making up your mind that you're going to write the next program for your subconscious mind. You're not going to let somebody else do it. So we start to evaluate where we're at, what we're doing. How much time do you spend thinking? And what do you spend time thinking about? I spend a lot of time in planes. I am leaving here where I'm shooting this particular series in Dallas, and I'm going to fly immediately to London. And then I'm going to go from there right back to Toronto, and from there out to Utah. Now, this is all happening in a week. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the air. I was flying over to Kuala Lumpur from Toronto every month for approximately 5 years. It's 25 hours in the air from Toronto to KL. And if you go any further, you're coming back. So it's a lot of riding. And I have that time for me. No disturbances. I play with words and numbers. I spend all the time in the air playing with words and numbers. And I'll build things in my mind. And then I lay down a track that I want to run on, how I'm going to execute it. Now, when I get a great idea, I'll write it down. If it's still a good idea a week later, I know that I'm onto something. And then I'll put together a team of people to execute it. You see, I think you should have a team working with you. And if you're going to make a paradigm shift, that's vitally important. So think. You've got to make decisions. You know, Napoleon Hill said that the people that win in life make decisions very fast and change them very slow, if and when they change them at all, like that. You're going to find the people that have problems in life, they make their decisions very slow, and they change them frequently and without any cause. Why would an individual do that? It's part of the paradigm. Take a look at how you're living. Start to analyze. What do you do when you get out of bed in the morning? There's a pattern that you follow. The pattern is the expression of the paradigm. How much time do you spend sitting down to do nothing but create big ideas to improve the quality of your life? Don't say you haven't got time. Everybody gets exactly the same amount of time. We get all there is. So what are you doing with your life? How do you spend your days? I want you to become super aware of the thought patterns that you entertain. Start to monitor your own thinking. Don't spend time thinking why you can't do something. Spend time thinking of how you can. You see, you're capable of doing anything. Now, understand this. You're either going to go forward into growth or back into safety. Now, I want you to also remind you that there's no shortcuts, but you can take quantum leaps through the transference of experience and information. This is Bob Proctor with the Paradigm Shift. I want you to join me next time. Thank you.